Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. The end of round 5 is here. The DPP editions have come, and it's time to start upgrading. So we'll go over our scores. The leagues and the community is absolutely firing at the moment. So I'll probably bring them up and give a shout out to a few leagues. It's quite a few dominating the leaderboards. The DPP, of course, we've got. It was about 40 in the end. We've got maybe 20 or so that we think are somewhat relevant, but really it's probably about 5 to 10. The rookies and then captains, and so we'll go through all that. George, big week this week, mate. You are
A little bit better, yeah.
Making the right direction, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair way back, but this week, 29k, I think, for 47k last week, I think. It's 2,349, which is, I guess, okay score. In the Discord was probably par, but for everyone else, I guess it's maybe just above. Our trades were trade out Hollins and Doherty for Dawson and JVR, so I think acknowledge Hollins was a mistake, but had to get Dawson in. And yeah, C-Mac laid out. He wasn't didn't know he was sub Thursday night, so whatever, move on. Teams looking okay. Cash gen's not great. I've traded in all the top liners instead of value, which means it's probably going to take a bit longer to finish the team. So I don't know if that approach will. I think long term it'll be okay because I won't have made any mistakes with value premiums. But at the same time, I might be struggling for money. But we'll see how we go. So, and yeah, the leagues are doing very well, which is great. I think we've got the top 6 leagues. So we've always had a few leagues near the top, but I don't think we've ever had clogged the leaderboard, which is good, especially considering I baited the whole Discord into Tanner Bruin. So if I didn't do that, other than that, I'm proud of the community, very good, and hopefully onwards and upwards from here. How'd you go, Jackson?
Yeah, so I scored 2,331, which I think was the lowest of the three of us again this week, but still good enough to move me up around 8,500 spots to roughly 13,000 overall. So a nice little move up. And I've kind of gone the opposite approach to you, George. So I definitely went value premiums. So I got Stewart and Jelly in last week, and one of those two worked out well. But my cash gen's probably sitting a little bit better than yours at the moment. So I'm hoping I can finish a team a little bit quicker, get the rookies off the field and make up some points that way, and hopefully still have enough trades at the end where I can maybe go after these guys like a Dawson or Oliver later on as the year progresses. So it'd be interesting to see how the two strategies play out. And I mean, we won 3 leagues last year from the rankings, and I think we're probably going to try and go for 5 or 6 this year. So it's pretty good, as well as taking out all the 20-man spots, which I guess is the most covered of them. Went pretty well. But I mean, you're clear of all of us at the moment.
Yeah, it's a rare spot to be in over the last few years. Knocking on the door of the top 1,000 now. So I think I was 2,500 last week, so half my rank and some with a 23.54. I thought you were going to beat me, George, and then Warple.
Radically, what a player.
Yeah, that was crazy, to be fair.
Josh Kelly goes 100. I bloody like to score. Come on. What a joke.
Yep. I got some luck. We all get some stiff sometimes, but Radically, look, it could have been bigger anyway. But Sicily and Warple got me there in the end. But I was going to ask you boys, what's the team value? That's probably because looking around, a few people almost hitting 12 mil, and mine's only 11.8. So I don't know if I should be worried. I mean, I think I traded in English and Clary. I think English was, I can't remember, but Clary at 700, got him in. And English was at, I'll just check quickly, at 616. What's yours, George?
Mine's 11.8. For me, I've tried to correct Chester Chandler a few times and just couldn't get around to it. So that's 150k gone there. Yeah. But I think otherwise, I started Laird as well. Laird came down a fair bit. You got Sicily, who's come down a fair bit. So
that's probably killed me, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you don't have Zeeble either, do you?
No, so there's another 100. What's he? Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
JD, what's yours?
Yeah, and I'm also 11.8 and a half type thing. But most of my rookies are alive on the bench and should continue to make money. And I think I also went to 16 keepers, which is one ahead of most. So I killed a little bit of my cash gen to try and get an extra keeper in. So I'm okay with that. I need less cash from here anyway. compared to maybe some of the others.
Do you have 16 keepers?
Including
Yes.
KZ, Shees, I think, right?
And Ridley.
And
Yeah,
Ridley.
so like a couple of these
Okay.
you want to luxury upgrade later on for sure. But yeah, like I'm at 16 if you include Sheasel, Zeeble.
Okay, I'm at 14, so you're a bit ahead there.
Yep.
Including those two, so yeah.
But I'm also like I think I've got one boost
so
left after this week or something like that. So I will slow up pretty heavily.
Yeah. Okay. I got 15. I just realized I'm already one step ahead with Tom Green on the bench, but we'll get to that after.
Yeah, same.
Just for those that are watching on YouTube, I think most people will probably watch on YouTube, but still a few out there on the podcast world. I'm just got the leagues up. So for 20 man, we tried to sort of get as many of those going, and literally the top 5 and 6 if you include Kaz, who bowls some pies down in Tasmania, but that's a lot of the Discord as well. And then it's like, what do we got? Because I think that KFC league was up there. Sock winners, whatever that is, few people
don't have to read that one out.
Chat, that one.
Mosh, if you're looking for a sponsor.
Old Shrek is live.
Still waiting for the email.
Probably most of this league is now frauds, along with me. So the name's still there.
We've got a lot of Shrek-inspired league names that are somewhat irrelevant.
But yeah, that's the 20, and then as JD said, I think you're in like one from each thing almost.
Yeah, I put in one for 18, 6, 8, 10, 12, and I think we're leading.
They're all at least top 3
or 4 of those, and we're top 5 for all of them. And I think the even more pleasing thing is if you look at the weekly rankings, we're like at the top of all of them. So as we're catching up or moving ahead in a lot of these. It's not just overall points, but if you look at the last round, we've got form. We got a bit of momentum going, which you like to see.
Yeah, they're all up there for weekly points. So just anyone can check that out themselves.
Just quickly, So firstly, it's still round 5, so there's plenty of time to others.
No. Call victory now. Everyone loves an early crow. Bombers going to the finals. Crows going to the finals. FTTV locked up the leagues. Nothing could go wrong.
Hopefully, not with my trade count anyway. But what do you think we did right as a community to get a good start? I think a lot of us, Dawson was very, very highly owned. I reckon at about 70-80% as a starting pick. I reckon
that's definitely up there.
We also had we also started Shrek, and a lot of people traded him out round 3, so we would have taken a bit of a hit there.
But trading into English,
I guess the right move.
The right move. So, and that's what we advocated for.
I think I looked. You're up 30 points. English is up 30 points still on Shrek, and Shrek's been good, so it's still I think you're expecting that to go more and more.
I feel like we have pretty high Zeeble ownership in the Discord as well. Like he's less than 20% of teams still, so that worked out well. I think we were like hold Hopper, which a lot of people did, but he's gone from 50 to 38% ownership. So I think there was a few moves like that we kind of made reasonable calls on.
Maybe
nothing
Bont
really
as well.
stands out. Yeah, Bont, but
I feel Bont's only 35% of teams. Wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you look in the Discord and you just assume Bont's big, but he's not. You put this to top 5 or 10% on actual Supercoach website, and he's 60% now, but I think he was 40-50. So, that's different to a Tirano who's 90 and dunks and all that make no difference. He still makes a difference. So finally getting some big games out of him.
Tom Green's only 38%, and he's been nearly with 110 for whatever he was priced at.
Starting to worry now, but obviously we'll get to that. Something I didn't mention in the agenda, some suspensions we'll get to as well, as much as I hate them. But
I guess we were pretty anti-wits for the most part, which was
good call.
Pretty good as
Scored
well.
But
he missed a week, which people may have cut donuts for, and then he had to get traded. And I don't think we were massive on Stewart as a starting pick, which probably helped as well because we missed the injury-affected 14 and a trade there for the most part.
Probably Nat Fife as well was like 35-40%.
Oh, and there was like Cunnington owners as well.
Yeah,
there's a. To answer the question, I think what I reflected on is because I've had to make a lot of corrective trades, but we roughly got the structure right with roughly the right amount of mid prices in each line. So you just kind of corrected, a piece here or there to make sure you had all the right ones, but it was mainly like the right structure. So hasn't been too bad. And, I think there was stuff as well, like we didn't necessarily have day costs. A lot of people jumped off him, but that was after 1 week of it, it was for
Recognised,
me anyway.
yeah.
Get on day costs, and so a lot of people doing that and weren't having to do it at week 2, which meant they could then do another corrective trade, which helped. So that stuff snowballs.
Yep. And you got the 150 round 2 as well. Yep.
I like also stuff like I think after round 1 as well, it was get on Chandler if you can. So I think a lot of us got on Chandler when others probably couldn't get on him, and that made a pretty big difference too.
Yeah, there's a bit to do there in those early rounds. So yeah,
for sure,
right structure, and then corrected it. Fixed it well with our trades. I think for the most part, most of our community's done. So look, yeah, as you said, George, only the start. It's this is when it sort of starts to get fun, the game, right? Getting the rookies off field, identifying the premiums, fallen ones that we want to target. So we'll get to that later, but we've got to get to some DPPs first. Everyone's, new fun thing the last couple of years, following in the fantasy footsteps, and don't really need to speak too much, but Cheese on Zeeble, top of the list, both getting the defender status. So, yeah, that'll help a lot. I think most people doing their trades this week are going to throw at least one back there, maybe 2, but that's going to help, getting rid of a Jimby, whatnot. So anything else to say on those 2, or we already knew that was coming?
No, handy to have it. Good to be able to throw them, wherever the weaker rookies are. And I think with Seamus Mitchell looking a likely downgrade option next week, that'll be handy as well, because we'll have a third kind of defender forward to throw around. So yeah, really, really happy with that.
Yep. We'll keep on the North theme. Will Phillips, boys. Not one that we're all going to be loving.
Painful miss.
Very painful. Now, look, we all had him in our team. Not picked round 1. We obviously took him out, but he's highly owned still. People were able to get him in 2 weeks ago. I was 10K short for my Shrek going up to English trade. I needed, a certain amount, and I could only afford Rowston. But I was definitely telling people to go Phillips that round, and he's gained forward status as well. So just to top it off, Simpkins out. He's going to go pretty well and make quite a bit of cash, and you can have him at F6. So good for owners.
On field as well. He probably could have tonned. He copped a shoulder knock and was off for a little bit. Played a bit sore after that.
Simpkin was out and his tog went up and up, right? It got up into the 70s, which means the second half it was pretty good, right? So
I think he looked a little bit concerning in pre-season, hence why he wasn't named round 1. But I think he's looked at the level the last few weeks, which is a good sign for North fans, I guess. But yeah, you'd be happy if you have Phillips at the moment.
Yep. I'll knock off a couple more rookies. Wilmot got midfield, if that helps you in some flexibility in trading. Lockie Ash, we'll mention him. He's got defender, but I think if you held on to him, he's come okay. But I think all the starters would have come off by now, I believe. Yeah, he actually hasn't been too bad.
Teams, so.
Yeah, like it went 50, but then went 90, 90, 75, 80. So he hasn't been terrible, but not sure how much owned he's now. How owned he is now. Mackenzie got forward status, but is already out of a lot of teams and heading out of a lot more this week. So largely irrelevant. Will Day got the mid status, but again, you're picking him in defense anyway, not too relevant. Lloyd Meek, you got here, George. This is a bit interesting, getting forward status as a ruckman, right? But they are playing 2, so it's really just if Reeves was to go down at some point.
Lynch comes in though. I guess Meek probably plays primary and Lynch forward, but they're always going to have 2 rucks set up, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's not overly relevant, but yeah. Reeves is actually, he went up well on the weekend. Nasaya from the Saints, Wangani Malera got the defense as well, which is not surprising. Stealing a few of Sinclair's kickouts, so we'll probably can speak about those a bit later when we talk about Sinclair. Caleb Daniel got forward status, which is a little bit surprising. He's played a bit of everywhere. No one cares anyway. He's much hated. Probably same with Baz, who got it as well. Out anyway with a calf for a couple of weeks and burnt a lot of us last year. So he's only averaging 80. Have to be an injury in the midfield, like a long term,
I mean, the problem with Baz was he just wasn't getting the same time on ground that he had last year, which was the key to success. He just was near 100% basically. He was building back up to that this year, but then injured again. So I imagine that he's going to be taking a step back from that, which means he's probably not going to be relevant for the rest of the year.
Yep. Bruce as well from the Dogs. Look, a bit of a pod rookie. Not sure how many have him, but he's got defender that he was clearly going to get. Jaden Hunt, I think this is only fantasy he's really owned. JD, we've got him.
Yeah, love Jaden Hunt.
But he's got the mid status, playing wing. Not too relevant. Dawson's got it, of course. Last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've seen him dominating there. Could end up the number one midfielder, George, by the end of the year, as well. Not out of the stretch, really.
Hunt's managed to make like over 90k in Supercoach. So he's done all right. Yeah, he's done all right.
This was a bit harder to go near him. We'll get through these. Malera got defense, of course. Rochelle got mid. Doesn't really matter too much. Keys got forward, so there's a few Crows ones there, but not too relevant.
I mean, Keys won't matter until he gets full mid-time, which probably isn't going to happen based on what we've seen this year. So
yeah, would need injury or something. Zorko, bit of nightmares there for non-owners of 2 years ago. But not too relevant. And then another really relevant one for this week is Matty Roberts, who is, without checking, the most traded in rookie, I believe. So that's very, very handy. You can trade him into either line there. And someone we'll talk about at the end as well. But yeah, pretty much everyone will be looking at him. Hunter Clark he started defense, right? So he got midfield. And then JJ Johannesson, George. I think you're looking at him in fantasy. He's not really.
You say down bad in fantasy.
No. He looks like a really good option in that format. And even Supercoach, he's somewhat interesting because he's been moved behind the ball, which is where we've seen him play his best footy in the past. He's had 2 pretty good weeks and he's been taking kick-ins alongside Dalen Richards. But, of course, he plays alongside Bevo, so it's really hard to trust that role will still be that role in even 3 weeks from now, despite him playing somewhat well. And the Dogs aren't winning, so you imagine they will continue to tweak with their formula until Bevo finds something that Jags will win or two.
Yep. I think Dale, Daniel, and Richards back into last year all did like 80, 90 plus or something altogether when Richards got going. So there's a bit of points to go around down back. Probably not enough for Jonathan to be relevant in this format, though.
Yep.
It's also just generally like the wrong time of year to be looking at those types of picks. Like we're getting into proper upgrades now. So unless you see him as a keeper, there's probably, or even a value keeper, there's no point looking at him because he's, I think, just a mid-price that might make some money. But yeah, probably moving on to bigger and better things now. And I just had a quick look. I know you're right. Most traded in this week is Matty Roberts with 10% increase in ownership. 18,000 coaches have traded in so far.
Yeah, big time. We'll save rookie talk for the end, but provided he's named, I can see that rising and rising. Pretty uninspiring list, to be honest, boys. Really, the rookies are like the most relevant ones there.
I mean,
of course.
I think Zeeble and Sheasel are probably the 2 most exciting ones, just because they look like they could be keepers in either line. So you
just
can
not
move them around to fill out. And it's also, I think, that D6 spot with like a lot of people fielding Wilmot or Cowan has been a disaster. So if you can, potentially loop them, and if like Wilmot sometimes gives you a fieldable score, but like if you loop him and it doesn't work out, you can throw one of them back over that spot. Like that's pretty nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
What did you think of Petrarca, George, when you saw that tweet this morning? Out of nowhere, we almost got him.
Didn't see that coming, no. Maybe it had to do with Cozzy being out because they were like switching back and forth in the midfield a bit. So,
round 12?
What was his? Yeah, I might check his CBAs, but
he's one where the confusing part. He's had 66% CBAs throughout the year so far. So he must have been doing
forward.
Yeah, like the role that we've seen like Stringer do in the past, and even DeGoey from a couple of years ago, where it's like they have high CBAs, but then the rest of the game they sit forward.
So it's basically, I mean, that's what Cozzy does really too when he does it. So, yeah.
The concern with, well, not concern, but with Petrarca, it makes you second guess whether you want to go for like a Zach Butters if Petrarca's potentially coming in round 12. So that's, don't know. Even McRae could get near it. But he's not playing super well at the moment. Still doing okay, though. So maybe we can discuss that later with forward targets. But, maybe I don't know if you want to leave a slot open just for Petrarca, the chance that he gets it. So
I mean, the thing is, right, like your team should be complete basically by round 12. That's about, you might be on your last one primo, maybe 2 if you've had injuries that have affected like upgrade cadence. But I just like don't think I'd be planning around them getting DPP in that, like by round 12. That's the type of trade that I'd like, sideways someone during the buys if it works with fixture or whatever. But like I wouldn't be holding out a spot. I'd just be getting good value options now.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's the buy start that round, right? When the next DPPs come. So
Yes.
yes, you could find out then, and then Butters has the last one, doesn't he? So, say for instance, Track got it, you could, do some sort of swap there. But it's interesting. He had it locked up supposedly, not that we knew, but he did until he played 80% mid was part of the tweet and just missed out. Like he must
That's
have been at the 40s almost, or
bit of a
high 30s.
conspiracy between Freako and Phantom and his lair. We're drawing up their secret pods on the board. I bet you find have been traded into a lot of teams. I'd be very disappointed this week.
Yeah, I just find it interesting they don't post, like they post the articles, right? Who's close, who's got it, and who's not getting it.
Yeah,
and he
and
just was never
Petrarca
mentioned.
didn't turn up once, and you think that'd be
In-
one of the top
in-
ones for people to look at. And by the way, totally joking about the conspiracy. It's probably just like a funny oversight, but yeah, like it's just a weird one that of all the DPs
Imagine
you
the
get people
clicks that
excited
would've got.
about. Yeah, Petrarca and
Imagine the
McRae. You
clicks.
plant those two
Oh
over
my
there,
God.
like rolling in the advertiser revenue.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, pretty uninspiring. I sort of said, like, obviously it's hard to predict. That's what I said. I was saying myself in preseason. I think it was 2 years ago in fantasy because we didn't have it yet. Jelly and Sean Darcy, and that was like ultra locks. And last year it was the Dogs, basically, whole team, and Parker. So it's not always like that. You can't predict it. It's very hard for a 5-game sample with injuries, as well, and who else goes out of the team to predict this stuff. You can't just expect it. So anyway, we'll see. It could come again in round 12, and there could be some relevant ones. All right, moving on to targets, boys. Now, pretty much I would assume most people are making an upgrade this week, and it's pretty much coming down to what you can afford. So I assume most people are trading out the likes of Jinby, Baker. Who else is going out? I'll just check it now. C-Mac.
Jinby, Baker, yes.
Yep.
C-Mac, Chandler.
Chandler's
Did you
probably the
say
fourth.
Chandler?
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who they've got to go to is the question, and that's what we're all debating. Who do you go first? We'll start with defense. Jack Sinclair. I think at about halftime, half the court, probably more, was saying he's coming in. This is, absolute lock. 540 or whatever he was, expected to be, and he had about a 15-point second half. Now, I think he literally had up until halftime 0 CBAs, and then ended up with about 30% across the game. So he was largely midfield, if not almost full time. He only scored 15 points. Does that concern you, George?
Honestly, I didn't see the game, so I'm not too sure. I know Steele's coming back next week, so maybe less incentive.
Maybe he goes back.
Incentive to go in the mid. So he's the one I'm looking at the moment if Zach Merritt doesn't get up.
Yep.
Just because it's money struggles, I can't get to Toucan unless I give up Ashcroft.
What are your thoughts on him in general? We didn't speak about Wanganeen Malira before, but I think he's 25 kick-ins to Sinclair's 20 on the year. So,
which is partly because Sinclair's played midfield. Right?
A little bit, yep.
Yeah.
But he still has, a 50%, you could say?
Yeah, 50-50 split, which is down on last year where he had a monopoly.
Yep. So it hurts him a bit.
I still think he's fine. He's getting 28 touches a game. For some reason, he's averaging 0.8 tackles. Last year was 2.5, and that's really where the only difference is.
He's playing more midfield.
Yeah, so not too sure. Looking at kick-ins last year, yeah, Sinclair was getting they had Brad Hill getting a little bit. Also, Jared Lena, is he even on the list anymore?
No, he's playing VFL somewhere, I saw.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like he definitely got the most kick-ins. So maybe he's more your 105-ish range this year, I would guess. Had that one game with bad disposal. I think he's top 6. I think he's the next tier below the top dogs, like your Dawson, Dacos, Stewart. Still, I think he's a fine target, but to dish up 540k, I think I'd just rather pay the extra 70, 80 for a top line of mid at this point.
That yep.
Yeah, but I guess if you don't have the money. So yeah, I think he's probably my preferred target this week for that price.
You still interested, JD? I think he has the Marvel run coming up, right? We looked at that last week. I think he starts 4 out of 5 games are there.
Sorry, is this Sinclair?
This is Sinclair, yep.
So if we're just looking at defenders, I guess it's kind of situational on what else you have in defense. Like, I'm not that keen on him at the moment. We've seen two kind of poor games out of him. We've seen some all right ones in there as well. I think George is right. Like, his average, I think, is definitely going to be down on what we saw last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed below 100 for the year or went like 100 to 105, which, like, I'd rather get Will Day next week for 100K cheaper. That's where I'm currently at. So I just think I'd rather, if I'm looking for a value option this week, I'd probably rather look for one somewhere else and then get Day next week in defense instead of Sinclair. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
Just comes down to how much you like Will Day, really. How much you trust
What do you
that.
see? What do you see Will Day averaging?
about 95 to 105 as well.
In the range, yeah.
Yep.
Hawthorn, the tank job.
He's going to get
on.
80% CBAs. He's going to take over as their number one.
He got.
What's
Right,
that?
like that was just the most recent game. He got that, right?
Yeah, but I think like that was a sign
Like it was
he
50,
was
50,
gonna
60 or something. before
take
that.
over. He'd been their best on for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, getting kind of better every week. I think the
Was we-
injury history is the only thing that's the concern there.
Isn't it weird to you that Newcomb was going 50-50 and then obviously he had to jump up on the weekend? Like he was their best mid. But anyway, I think it's hard to read. I think it could change every week, this tank job that Hawthorn are doing. And it could be 81 week Will Day. It could be back to 60-50 with the rest.
Oh yeah, they could do stuff as well.
Could
Like
see
if
who they've got. You
if
know,
you
have we got?
saw they like
Yeah.
rotate him into defense or something for a little bit. Like there's totally that risk as well. But at 100K cheaper price, like I think that's the
Okay. Yep.
that's the value.
Yep.
I mean, because even at 550, he's priced at about 105. So like he's getting close to fair pricing. I don't think you're getting him at a big discount or anything like that.
Yeah, with Sinclair, I think you can. I think, what George said. Try and grab a more surefire primo if you can, like a mid one, or a couple others we might talk about. I think Sinclair will stay pretty close to this price.
I just
more of a read on him.
There's at least 3 to 4 other
See what happens when
better
Steele
value
comes back.
options this week for me as well.
I like seeing what happens when Steele comes back, George. Like if that just pushes him to halfback the whole game. I mean, they might throw him there at times anyway, just for a bit of a different look. But I think he's break even. He's settled now. So unless he has a massive game, he'll stay around this price. Reluctantly, but James Sicily, guys, it's starting to annoy me in the last couple of weeks. Look, I gave him a pass for. I'll give him a pass for both games. Really, maybe not so much his attitude. I don't know if he was totally into the game on Sunday, but against Jezza, that was just really tough matchup. Not going to get what he's usually doing with all those easy marks. They dropped that James Blank, what his name is. I think that's his first name, and brought DGB in. So this week, that ground wasn't too much for wasn't suiting. It doesn't suit that chip mark style. Hardwick took 10 kick-ins. That was my biggest nuisance, and really not the ground to be chipping into the pocket because there isn't any. It takes one little flanker just to push up a bit and basically takes it out, and they've got to go long. So, and going long's the option anyway on that ground. Why the hell would you be chipping around anyway? So look, wasn't great. The kick-in's probably my biggest concern, but I don't think that matters for you, George. You're still you go to JD.
I mean,
you still
just quickly here. So there's 3 games all of last year where he took 1 kick in. This year he's already had 2 games where he's taken 1 kick in and 1 where he took 0, which he didn't do at all last year. So, like, to give you an idea of how much that's dropped off, it's a pretty large drop. He was averaging 3-4 last year, and it's more closer to 1 or 2 this year. So a couple of kicks a game. But yeah, I think this week the smaller ground definitely hurt him. I thought it would be decent for intercepting, but the way GWS entered didn't really allow for that too much. I think they avoided that a little bit. I thought Sicily played more accountable than what I'd seen in some of the other games. And then, the lack of deep pockets for him to get the +6s from, I think, hurt as well. They weren't switching play much at all. So this should get a little bit better than what we've seen. And also, it was another game where the Hawks were competitive. And what we're really looking for in the Hawks upside was them getting smashed, which just hasn't been the case over the first 5 weeks. They've had a couple of really poor second halves. Swans, Geelong stand out, for example. But the other 3 games have been competitive, and then 2 halves have been competitive. So maybe as the fixture gets a little bit tougher, Sicily starts scoring a little bit better, especially as they go back to the G. So, I mean, it's a hold. None of these guys are a trade, but I'm also not eager to trade Sicily in or anything like that. He's break even's 155. He's going to get much cheaper. So yeah, I'd be holding out on him.
Yeah,
I'd like to grab him in 2 weeks. Yeah, happy to grab him.
Still interested. Yeah.
Yeah, he might get down to 530 or something like that, 520 if he goes 100.
There's a nice run. There's like Dogs, Eagles, a few other easier teams.
Dogs is a very nice matchup.
Freo as well.
Freo's forward line. Yeah, that's not bad.
Next week. Not this week, like the week after.
Crows won't be easy.
Actually, I might look at him next week if bloody Mera needs to get off badly because I just want to get a mid in this week, but I'll see how we go. But yeah, I'm targeting Sicily.
You still interested? Yeah. Tom Stewart brought him in this week, JD, I believe. Happy with that. Pretty cruisy first half and then just meandered to a 130. So that's the Stewart you like.
He could have matched Dawson. He could have matched Dawson. He could have. But yeah, like the second half, he laid off big time.
The whole cat sort of did.
Yeah, but I thought that would lead to more chip mark play around the ground.
True.
And it just really didn't.
They just let West Coast score.
And I thought the other thing that was strange was, and like Stewart scored well through it, but they let Asava hang off and be the +1 a lot. Like it wasn't Stewart for all of the game, which I thought was quite interesting because as we saw, Asava not confident moving the ball forward. Like that thing goes sideways or not at all.
Handball
so yeah, this could have been a much bigger game, but obviously like pretty happy to have him. It was a good week. I think if you missed him last week, it's probably hard to bring him in this week because his break even's 120 because the big score kind of rolls out of his cycle. So you could wait another week. He's priced pretty high now at the 600K mark. And really at 600K, it's 20K to Took Miller. Is anyone wanting to save 20K to go Stewart over Took? No. So I think it was last week, or it's maybe potentially wait and see if he drops or has a poor game. You'd be hoping someone like Clark gets named and they tag him this week from the Swans, which have done in the past. But yeah.
Yeah, I think he just hit the emergency list, Clark, so he might be close. But who knows? I'll look at him at some point. Yeah, I think wait till he gets a bit cheaper. George, will you ever change your mind?
It's probably not good for Providence.
I'll death ride for durability. The most annoying thing watching Geelong games is whenever there's like a deep, like the screen is like on the middle of the screen, the other team bombs it in the forward 50 before the even screen has panned out. You just know that Stewart's going to gobble it up, and you kind of know before accept defeat a few seconds in advance. But yeah, he's just annoying to not own. But yeah, he's probably going to go 115, 120 again. It looks like so. That's what it's like in the preseason.
So
just quickly, I don't want to debate the fringes, but which defenders have you got locked into the top 6? Like you see them, there's no way they're not top 6 from here to the end. Unless injury happens or something like that.
You can go, George.
Just Dacos, Stewart, and Dawson. It's only 3 I've got locked. There's throw a blanket over a few maybe. Like I wouldn't say Sicily or Sinclair are locked, but I think they'll be close if not there.
Yeah.
Same opinion. Yeah, those 3 for average anyway. Yep.
And I think the tough thing is like Dacos is probably still underpriced, but Dawson and Stewart are probably overs now. So I think you probably just have to wait if you haven't got one of the 3. But yeah, I think that it's the same boat. So like guys like Sinclair, Sicily, etc. I'm not like desperate to get any of them in unless they get to a really nice price point.
Yeah, we'll mention those 2, Dawson and Dacos. Not that they need to be too much of targets. I guess everyone owns Dacos, but Dawson now, JD, you've been speaking. We all would speak by now. That was the last week, just gone really get in. Yeah. And that was still pushing it. Let's be real.
I was 620K. It was still so expensive. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that happens every year where you can't get all the top guys early.
Someone gets away from you.
Out of the price range, and you just have to hope that you can use that money well enough elsewhere that the value put into the rest of the team makes up for the points that you lose. But it's going to be so hard watching Adelaide games. But
he got attention last year, and this year he's even better. So he has to. Even as an owner, I'm telling you, he has to get some.
I don't know how coaches can have watched the last 2 Adelaide games and not put someone next to him because he's
Even Voss,
tearing
like,
games apart. He's so
before that
good by
game.
foot. It is
Surely
nuts.
he was
It's the
like-
best game I've seen from an Adelaide Crow since like some of Andrew
Andrew
McLeod's
McLeod.
games. It's insane.
I knew a McLeod reference was coming. It had to be.
I can't believe
It'd be
like just
danger, though.
everything he does. Every time he gets the ball on the outside, it's hitting Fogarty on the chest. It's
the opposite of
unreal.
Stu. You know, it's before
Yeah.
they switch to the inside 50, it's hitting chest.
Which, by the way, is like the most insane combo, right? Because Fogarty cannot miss a goal. Like he just
He's
can't. It's
really
100%. He's got aim hacks on. Like that is going through like 100% of the time. But he couldn't find the ball, and now you've got Dawson who cannot miss a target. Like it's the ultimate 1-2 combo. It's so
Mate,
good to watch.
entries
You must be
like
thrilled,
that-
George. Like honestly,
Lead extraction, Dawson entries to that forward 6 right now, which is like probably top 3 forward 6 in the comp.
And by
And
the
that
way,
might take offense to that as well. It's probably better. Like it's good.
Laird's leading the
whatever-
comp in score involvements as well.
And
All
if,
handballs to Dawson.
if for whatever reason, like it bounces off someone's hands, watching Rankine Rove packs is insane. He's got very good positioning.
Yeah. Rankin.
You remember Showtime Lakers, Showtime Crows now.
Yeah, the
Anyway.
Crom Globetrotters out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the Tigers are mud, I'll jump on the Crom. That'll be my final
Oh,
team.
welcome.
Point being, Dawson's gone. Hope for some attention or a poor game or two. And Dacos, yeah, as I said, assume everyone owns him by now. I think he's 95% in the top sort of, chunk of the league. Jake Lloyd, you've got here. George, there's a last little one. Is he
Don't write
starting
off
to
the old
convince you
goal.
more and more?
Yeah, I think I was looking at his heat maps, and there was a fair bit of work up the ground. So I don't know if that's a reason for the upside or if that's a bad thing. I don't know. He looks all right. He's playing well.
He's playing better, yeah.
So last year, I don't know, maybe down on form, or they just used. It's hard to tell if they're using Blakey more. We've said a number of times, Swans defenders are going nuts, and even like I think what did Mills do this week? I think he went pretty well, and he played pure defense.
Mate, Campbell turned as well. Blakey 150. It was nuts. They all killed it.
I don't know if you look at Cade Simpson's like career history, but it's like all like hundreds, 90s, and there was like a year where he did like 110, then went to 90, and then did like 110 the next year or something like that. So I do wonder like there's a bounce back on with Lloyd. He just looks better. I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 6, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he regresses to like 95-ish. I have no idea. So I guess there's a bit more certainty elsewhere, but I actually don't mind him.
Cade Simpson, what a nutso player
Yeah.
in Supercoach for so long.
Yeah.
He was crazy.
I think it's still slightly risky going for him, but I'm at like if I had to guess, I think he's closer to 105 than 95 this year, but not 100% sure. So for that reason, I'll probably sit out and just grab the safe mids for now.
Any interest, JD, or just monitor, sit afar, leave there?
He's what 30 this year.
I believe so.
He's
29.
I've got no interest in this pick. Well, he'd have to be very cheap. What's his price at?
He's still
530 now.
530, so
See, Sinclair and Tisley 20k more. There's no world where I pick Lloyd. He might be all right, but no, I'm not interested. This is like the side pick of last week, where it's like I get why people are interested in these picks, but it's just not for me. These aren't my style of player.
I think he was actually like the 5th or 4th most traded in option from Doherty last week. Lloyd, I think. So
Lloyd, yeah.
they were like ahead of
But you could have got Stewart or Dawson.
Correct,
Like
yeah.
I guess he was, much cheaper again, but like even Baker was a better choice probably last week, or Blakey. Like it's no thanks. I'd rather get Zeeble if you didn't have Zeeble.
Jake Lloyd. I'll leave him there. Just monitor him. But
Perennial hater of Jake Lloyd.
yeah, I am. After that 130 average in 2020 from bullcrap, whatever it was. Anyway, mids. This is where everyone is looking at this week, I think. Anyway, look, unless you can't afford them, a lot of people will be heading towards the top name on this list is Tuke Miller. So I penciled him in coming into my team before last week even began. Almost went him early, JD, from Setterfield or something like that, which Would have turned out all right, I believe.
It would have been a very good move.
Just trying to think who I would have fielded instead, like a rookie-wise, but still would have been better. What he beat,
and it was also my target last week until I couldn't afford it, and so I got Josh Kelly, which was a
little bit scared by
swing.
Ash, so I was happy just parking that and waiting till this week. But yeah, the run he has is insane, boys. North up this week. We saw what they've been giving good effort, but they can still capitulate like they did on the weekend. That was hard to watch in the second half, and Neil went bonkers. Richmond, who look for 5 years have given up a lot of points to mids. I'm not totally sure what it looks like this year with actual couple of midfielders in there, but still as a team, not overly hard to play against. D's, they used to be pretty easy for mids.
Miller's last, so D's are both easier to score on for mids this year so far, and then Miller's last 3 are all over 140. So
I put a tweet of that. Are you looking at that thing with the? It's.
I looked at it in my round review video as well. Like, if you've been looking at his upcoming fixture,
I don't love those
obvious things where like.
It's pretty nuts. And then West Coast. So, yeah. Anyway, everyone sort of knows it by now. 620K might be the cheapest you sort of get for a while. So, for me, straight in, George. I don't think we can really knock the pick at all, can you, with Took? You'll find a pre-season bit. Yeah, I knew it.
Well, it's always
he's trying to justify not getting him this week. He's going to try and justify not getting him. Yeah.
And then dunk on when he's out or something. Yeah. Look, it is a little bit concerned. Apparently, it was on someone the minor end that they just said there's no point playing him. He could have played.
No, he's still a target. He's got the nice buy as well. Just back him in from here.
Not much, really. To talk on with Took, I'll be happy to probably VC him if I can most weeks into Clary. Zach Merritt. JD, how's the tweet going along? Has it been spotted by the Bombers yet? Are they using it?
Very disappointed that it looks like they're going
briefcase.
Was it? No, it was. There's a few that have been. They were using Jordan De Goey's tackle from the preseason, which was all right. But I mean, the Heaney example they've got in their own rule book, I think, was a bit of a slam dunk case. So we'll have to watch on and see what they bring out tomorrow night. But yeah, I'm probably in the same boat of George, where if I don't want to sacrifice one of the more premium rookies, then I'm going to be looking at someone that isn't Miller. And really, I think below that, there's probably 2 options that look reasonable at the moment. And one is Zach Merritt and the other is Sarong. But they're probably the only 2 I'd consider under Oliver.
Under that price, yep. Merritt.
Under took Miller. Merritt, like, he's been good as captain. And Essendon a little bit better.
Tags early or attention.
Yeah, exactly. Got attention. So his score's a little bit discounted to what we've seen. And then ideally, I think a lot of people are probably going to target him around 10 or 11, which is when the fixture gets really soft for Essendon to the end of the year. But for those that are looking for a cheaper option, might have to wear him now through some of the tougher matchups before the back end of the year.
Yep.
Mate,
You'll be tuning into the tweets tomorrow night, George.
Yeah, I sat through him playing like Gary Ablett back end of last year. It was almost like Dawson. They kept giving him the ball to go inside 50 and he kept hitting targets. Just very frustrating to own. The only reason why he didn't go like 125 was he got 2 tags towards the end of the year. I want him and I want him now.
Yeah. Well, keep a close eye on.
To be honest, if you're looking at fixture, I think Miller's just a strictly better choice, by the way, because Pies, Cats, Port, like Pies and Port are both restricted for mid scoring. So, yeah, I think it's one of the ones that you could be like short-term pain, but then work out for us, and that's why I'd rather get Miller. And we're going to talk about maybe sacrifices that people might have to make it happen, whether or not it's worth it.
Yep. You mentioned Sarong, JD. I'll just put him in there because. Is anyone slightly interested? He's had a really nice start to the season in both formats.
Yeah, there's one stat, I guess, that's worth calling out, which was last year his CBAs were 66% for the year. Through 5 games so far this year, he's on 81%. So he's seen a near 15% boost in his CBAs. And it's like he's taken over as the number 1 midfielder, really, for Freo this year. It feels like he's gone both past Brayshaw and even Brodie, who were probably ahead of him last year in the pecking order. 112.6 average, which is definitely around the mark for a top 8 by the looks of things this year. And it's a 131 average in the last 3. Dogs this week, Lions, Hawks in the next 3. I know Freya's gone through a lot of their easier fixture already, but any of this sounding interesting to you?
He's a little bit. What do you think, George?
Freo are ass. They're no good, so I'm gonna avoid. But I think he'll go well. I reckon he can do like a 107, 108 this year. It looks really good. It
He's
looks
just
way better than
3% owned.
Andy.
So a bit of a left field option. I think the problem for me is like I've probably already got a few guys that are like, they're Kelly, Green types that are speculative back end midfielders. So I probably can't add in too many more like Sarong, but I do like him as a left field option.
Yep. And then we've got a few of the bigger dogs. So Lockie Neal just dropped to 170 when Bananas on North.
Yep.
Essentially just made himself going back up in price in the other direction, sort of coming down, and he just said, "Nope, I'm going up, boys. 90 break even. Got GWS, got Fremantle. That's not a bad couple of weeks the way those teams are going. So if you really like Neil, it's this week as well. Really to grab him or just wait a bit longer. So I think we'll be waiting longer, guys. But I can't tell you not to get him.
Get him at some point.
He's had a bit of a slower start to the year than he normally would. Usually a hot starter, but he's 30 now, so still dominant though. He or North apart. So I'll wait a bit longer, I think, but can't begrudge anyone that likes him and wants to go for him. JD, you agree? Nothing more?
Yeah, no, nothing more. There's other options I think are probably better, but it's really hard to know with Neil. He's had one good game out of 5. The other 4 scores don't warrant his price.
No.
But the fixture is really nice, I must say.
Yeah, I think I'll wait a bit longer, see if he can back that up. And then Bond, I'll just skip over him. I think most of our listeners have him by now, or watchers. But
if you don't, the Bulldogs fixture gets very easy now over the next 5 weeks. So yeah,
get him in. Yeah, please. If you don't,
it's Freo, Hawks, GWS is the next 3. So just thank you.
Blues. You can start the way they played on the last week. You can start mentioning them. Their midfield's been very bad this year compared to last. And then Laird is the last one, George. So I can go him. I can go Took. I'm pretty settled on Took. I think that's obvious at this point. But besides the 50, Laird's been pretty good after that. Besides, hasn't been sunny. He's been able to dominate. So
winter is coming. Beware.
That's Laird time.
I'd take Laird over Took, to be honest, but it's just me. I think Took's probably a bit more poddish, and nice fixture. But yeah, Laird's got Hawks this week, so I do like Laird a lot.
JD, you don't have no. Waiting a bit longer.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think I'm a pass on Laird. Like Pies the week after, I think worries me a little bit, and just haven't seen the consistency. It's a little bit like Neil. We've had 2 rounds that's probably worthy of what you paid for him, and then 3 that you'd be somewhat disappointed with. 1 really disappointed, the other 2 just so. So yeah, I think I'd rather look at Oliver instead, who both has the nice buy and the nice fixture.
Yep.
I think you're underselling Laird. I think he'll be top 2, top 3.
Yep, I think he'll be around the mark, but I like Took's run.
Right, I think there's a chance Miller out averages him for the year.
Yeah,
like a pretty reasonable one.
From here though, that's the question, right? Doesn't matter what he's done round 1, round 2, round 3. It's all about from here. So I think it'd be close. Both 120-ish players. Not sure Laird does 120, whatever he did, 6 or whatever.
No, he will. I think he will.
You think he will? Fair enough. I'd love to get both, but I can only get one. We're the mids, so a few targets there, a few obvious ones, some a little bit cheaper if you can't quite afford. Forwards gets a little bit interesting here now. Look, a lot of people are pretty set in the forward line. We've already got 4 premiums and then the old Kang Bros, as we call them. But obviously, you could throw one or two of them to defense if you like some forward options more than the defender ones. And top of the list at the moment is Zach Butters. He's got a very big uptick in some CBA numbers the last couple of weeks, especially the last two, and went monster on the weekend with a pretty assured 3-vote performance to get Port across the line and dominated. Interested, George? At a nice price at $4.96. So if you really are struggling for money, you can look his way.
I'm thinking about it because I don't know if I want to pay $5.45 for Sinclair. I want Merritt, but if I can't get Merritt, then I have to go someone cheaper. So who do you go? And this is where the whole Whisper Truck are going to get TPP. Is it even worth worrying about? Should I just go for, because really Butters is probably competing with a defender as well, because you can. Look, at this point, I'm treating Sheasel and Zeeble as keepers, so you can throw them both down back if you want. And then, is Butters going to outscore Sicily and Sinclair? What do you guys think? Who would you rank those three in order? Assuming Butters will continue the 60% CBAs, do you think he's ahead of Sicily or Sinclair?
So I think for the price, he is worth the risk because you are getting 60K basically cash in bank, which you can then use to get a premium mid next week. So I think if you just weigh it up like that, Butters plus 60K versus the others, I think I'd rather take Butters, to be perfectly honest, knowing that you can get next week, do you want to be in the situation where you're weighing up Merritt versus Oliver or you've already got Oliver, but say Miller.
Miller, yeah.
Yeah. And so you'd rather
on that.
Yeah. I think Oliver and Butters, I keep saying Oliver, Miller and Butters is better than Merritt and Sinclair or Sicily.
Yep. If it keeps up, he's going to go well if these numbers keep up.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware, he basically had no CBAs over the first few rounds, and then the last 2 weeks he's played 60%. And as Enno pointed out, Port have been winning, and he's been basically best on or close to for both of those. So I can kind of see that role persisting.
He's arguably better than Rosie. They're both very, very good players, but they are very, very good. And obviously, Horn Francis has have to come in and slot in there. Willem Drew's still getting a game with some run with roles. It's just there's a bit to go through, so it's widespread. Ollie Wine's still there, trudging away, about to be 400K, 390 or something.
I think I'll take the injury risk on this. I think I need to. If Merritt doesn't get up, I think I'll go Butters over Sinclair.
So here's your backup option.
Play the upside, yeah.
He can score unbelievably well.
Yeah,
he doesn't even need the CBAs for him to go well. But when
it's going to be, might be a bit like Shrek. Might be a little bit bumpy here and there.
It'll be like
get the flu. Might get a shoulder knock. Might not get much sleep the night before. Who knows? But we know he can score. Remember, he got subbed at halftime on 110 a few years ago.
Yeah.
So he admitted in an article that he was a bit sluggish to start off the year because of the AC joint injury, which is part of the
risk
pick, but at least no soft tissue. So I like that. I did that. Heaney was injury prone, but no soft tissue. So I guess it worked out last year, but who knows? So yeah, I like Butters as a target. I think the upside and price is very attractive.
So just quickly, next four for Port is West Coast, Saints, Essendon, North. So a nice handful of games.
Oh boy, I like that.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
So he'd be our number one forward option. Cogs is there if you're somewhat interested. I think George is turned off. Won't be looking at him. I'm still somewhat interested. The numbers are there. JD's getting enough mid-time. He's just cogging it up, really. That's Cogs. He can butcher with the best.
He can definitely throw some
doing
clangers in there. Yep.
So it is frustrating. I know a lot of owners in the Discord and people that have him have been tearing their hair out, but he's still 80% CBA. Getting the touches are there. It's just, he loves a hack kick out of contest, Taranto style. So it's going to be those clangers. But he'll still go 95 to 100 for me, so he's still always going to be there as an option.
GWS fixture gets harder from here. So they're playing Lions this week, who's one of the toughest sides for mids, and then Swans the week after, who I don't think are much better, and then the Dogs after that, who are also somewhat tough, and then Pies after that. So really, that's four of the toughest midfield matchups. So maybe not the best option, but I think should go okay this week if Green does miss, because you'd imagine it's he has to do a lot of the heavy lifting in the midfield
can't
if that's the
work.
case.
Yeah.
My worry with Cogs is, I think, age, 29 now, but we saw Parker do well, and like Gidera so bad as well. I think for me, as a person that owned him when the year he was dropped, like I don't know, bit of a sour taste for that. But loved owning him last year. He's got his confidence back. I think he'll be thereabouts, but I don't think he's top 6. I think he might be like the 7th to 8th range. I'll probably back Butters in from here. But I think he's still a fine target. He's a good price, and he's playing okay, just making a few clangers here and there. The numbers are fine, so there's no real reason to jump off.
Nah, I'd park him as one of the keep if you had, and maybe leave for now if you didn't, and just monitor. I think he's going to be similar pricing to this. JD said the run gets harder, so yeah, we'll see how he goes. Liam Baker's an interesting one. Look, turned out to be a very, very good starting pick at the price, 430. He's almost made 100k. There was a bumpy game or two there with a 60 round one, and then an 80ish last week wasn't too bad. But he's had a few big games too, and I don't know. It just screams like that'll be Liam Baker, but maybe his big will outweigh the bad, and his floor might be raised somewhat this year with just more responsibility in general. So I think you've said it a million times, George. We'll see what happens when Shorty, I believe, is back this week. So see what happens, but he's sort of up to 520 now, so it's sort of, you can get Butters for 30k cheaper almost. Why wouldn't you? Or 20. Would you be going Baker over him at this point? Probably not.
No, I've mentioned this multiple times. I've owned him in fantasy. In round 1 was a nightmare because Short played up the ground, but he would float back and take cheap marks. And Baker didn't really know what to do, know where to run. No. Yeah, exactly. So Short was taking up a bit of monopoly there, or real estate there. So I do really like him though. He's playing really well. He'd be all Australian squad easily, even probably in the team. Yeah. I think so. He's playing really well. Good contested rate. I see a lot of defenders don't win a lot of contested ball. He does. And yeah, like they threw him on ball the other day as well, like briefly to try and win the game, and almost did. Had like a really good smother right at the death. So yeah, coach's pet, but yeah, just I'm a bit scared of what happens if Short floats down back a little bit. But I think they want Short up the ground. So I think there's enough reason to steer clear. But I think he's been a good pick so far if you started him.
Okay, just quickly, we did it with the defenders. I want to do it with the mids and forwards as well. Which midfielders do you have as a lock for top 8 from here? So I think like Clarence, Laird,
too,
Miller, Neil, Bont.
I'm putting Merritt. I'm pretty keen on Merritt, so I think I'm very confident he'll be there.
That's it for locks. I think I would. Yeah. Be hesitant on Merritt even too. So probably did we have 5 there?
Yeah.
Clary, Neil, Bont, Miller.
A lot of us will have Green already, so there's your 6.
Yeah, whether or not we think he's a lock though. But yeah, I know what you mean. Only a couple more to fill in there. George,
don't know. I think Petrarca post buy has historically been pretty good. Wait for him to get the floor again or something.
A lot of people own LDU, but leave him there.
North are so bad. Okay, I think LDU can do 110 though. I think he's fine.
I guess the other one worth paying attention to is Steele when he returns. He's got 163 break even, 604, so he might be all right. And he's got that first buy, so he's one that could be a last upgrade into your midfield.
And Walsh, who was back last week. See how he
goes. Walsh, yeah, of course. And then, all right, so forwards, then who have you got locked as a top 6 forward?
I think Dunkley, Taranto. Can you say Sheasel? Probably.
Yep, Sheasel's locked in my top 6 for now. Yep.
I think it's just those 3, and then a lot of like your Gordon, Rosie, Butters next tier. Zeeble maybe in that tier. See how it goes throughout the year.
I mean, Zeeble's 7th at the moment, and Cameron, Baker, and actually both Camerons and Baker ahead of him. So like, yeah, I like them. Don't know how keen you are on those kind of persisting, but I think Zeeble's right up there with a shot at around 100 average.
Just want to check Walsh's CBAs. I thought he was half forward. Oh, the side's down. Oh no, it's not. Give me 1 second. Carry on there.
No, I've got it. Walsh had 39.
Wasn't much. Yeah.
Okay. That's made me hesitant on Butters.
But why?
I don't have the trades to flip players. I'll think about it.
Wait. But why does Walsh having low CBAs?
You think
Because if he gets forward status,
and ranks
we'll hurt in
Oh,
the back end of the
right.
year.
But that's not going to keep up. That's surely like a 1 game back type deal. And
Well, I
their
think it did in the
midfield
back
structure
half of
was
last
bad.
year. Yeah, honestly, I think they should just play him on ball.
Yeah.
It might be wing though, right? And that doesn't, some of the wing time obviously doesn't count for forward. So
Maybe Frico can do us a favor and tweet something.
the thing that we've seen is like just AFL standard this year is you need to be able to work from contest to contest. And that's the big problem with Carlton's midfield at the moment. And even Melbourne's to a certain extent is they don't like they've got the big bodies, but they don't have the work rate from contest to contest. So I just don't see like how you carry like Kennedy, Cripps, Hewitt as like your 3 midfielders, and then you have Walsh on the outside. You actually need one of those guys in your rotations. And it's part of what Crom's done well this year, right? You had all these big guys last year. You kicked out, Berry's kind of injured. You got rid of Schoenberg as well, and you've got in Dawson,
Keys
Rankin,
as well.
Rochelle,
Good way
and
out.
Keys, exactly. So like you just just don't have the balance of midfielders right. So I think like Walsh definitely is one that needs to come in more because he actually has the work rate through the midfield both ways to get from contest to contest. And I don't mean stoppage contests. I mean, aerial contests as the ball gets moved forward quickly. And they probably need to like continue investing in Chera a little bit, even though I don't think he's like been particularly good. So I don't know. We'll see what they figure out. But I actually think that they have to increase Walsh's time. And they probably need to get rid of someone like Ed Kerno, who I guess he's at least got a good work rate, but he's had 60% CBAs. He's had second most behind Cripps this year. So like that's got to swap.
Yep.
I just worry with they might have to play those guys in the midfield. Kind of worked last year for whatever reason. It's not. I think largely Hewitt's been down on form pretty badly.
No, it's the Pies game plans taking over the AFL.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yeah, they look pretty sluggish. Forwards, we did that. So that's it. We'll head to rookies.
Right, do you want to do Rucks quickly? Is English is R1? Are you confident enough to lock a R2?
it's Shrek.
It's Shrek v Marshall, 1v1 really. See what happens. I can't say either way.
Did Marshall not play well on the weekend? From what I was listening to, he wasn't doing well. They put Owens in. They benched Marshall at the last minute and put Owens in the ruck.
No, he's just forward stoppages. Like
Okay.
He's stuck on the bench for a little bit.
He did get benched for the last couple of minutes of the game where they were trying to kick 3 goals in 3 minutes. So
yeah, no.
But yeah, no, I don't.
He's fine. He just had 6 clangers, and I reckon 4 of them in the first quarter, so it just killed him a bit.
Okay. Based on what we saw at the start of the year, there's a chance like Gawn ends up being R2 as well from when he's back through to the end. So I'd probably only lock English. Like he's runaway number 1 at the moment by like 25 points probably a game.
Yeah, I don't think the gap between Trek and Marshall would be that big anyway. So I think
I think Gawn might be back this week. So if you have Grundy, I think that's when you got to move off. And Gawn, if we get an injury in the ruck.
And
okay.
So just like quickly, like Grundy's got Tigers that don't have a ruck, and he's got 67 break even. So you probably just ride him this week regardless.
Yeah, hope he gets a ton and more ruck time, or Gawn gets eased in.
Exactly, and then even after that, like North is the week after that, and then Gold Coast if Witts isn't back. So yeah, I don't know. You might be stuck with Grundy for a little while. He's still making money at least, which is good. Like he's made 70k or 80k over the last couple of weeks. That part's
elite. That's awesome. But having to monitor him and possibly trying to figure out when to deal with him over the next 4 weeks when you want to be upgrading, and that's just going to be a pain in the ass.
Dealing with it during upgrade season is the toughest part. And if you're trying to get to English, is going to probably be 700k. That's tough.
Yeah. Fully acknowledge that would have been a great pick, by time or later in the season or something. But it's just the timing doesn't. You're not going to know, and you're going to probably cop a bad score or just not be able to upgrade because you're going to have to switch in when you don't want
Do
to.
you want to take a stab at what percentage of teams Brody Grundy's in at the moment?
In top what? Or just
Oh,
total?
just in general. I'm not looking at top coaches.
20?
18.
26%. It's funny because we spend so much time talking about Darcy. He's 9%. So Grundy's nearly three
No, I know.
times
He
as
doesn't.
owned.
That's yeah. Look, we got a lot of the Shrek owners to jump off, I guess, but
Yeah.
he's been a lot better. I just still worry with Freo, but
And just quickly while we're talking about rucks, I mean, Sammy Draper dropped a ton on the weekend, 3 goals. Get around him. It's a big moment.
yeah, Grundy, what's he doing anyway?
Oh, have you seen some of the footage they've been showing about Grundy's defensive running?
Yeah,
The
not good.
Supercoach players won't care, but
That's-
I wonder if he gets raked over the coals this week, or if Melbourne are happy with him just doing the offensive stuff.
Well, Gorn ain't doing that, right? Gorn's actually competing and
Of
making an
course,
aerial
of course.
contest.
Yeah. But
when
it's
the
one of those
defense
really
under the
interesting
pump,
things where, like, you could look at it and go, like, look, this is what we expect out of a ruck. You got to work back
they have the
defensively.
best ruck that doesn't do that.
Yeah, or you do what, like, that's not Grundy's strengths. This is his strengths. Let's just play to that. So I really wonder, like, how they actually approach that. But I mean, it's not going to matter if Gorn's back this week, obviously.
No. Cool. All right, rookies. Bit of a important part of the season when we're upgrading. We still got to bring in some rookies that can hopefully make us cash and be part of the future one. So on the bubble, well, you've got a few here. We spoke about him earlier, but Matty Roberts is sort of clear number one and most traded in. Had a couple of sub games. Finally got his full run. I forgot, but interestingly, had that full game last year, boys, where he scored like single digits, and that wasn't the sub game. And it was against the Tigers, actually, funnily enough. But this year he gets a full game and he goes 90. So, he's come around. Playing mostly wing, George, a little bit half forward, got forward status, of course. So,
No, it looks all right. He's pushing
good.
up into stoppage a bit, like around the ground.
Yeah.
So, yeah, number one rook this week. I think they had a lot of ins and outs, but they were mostly defense ones.
Yeah,
I think he played good enough to hold, and then like it's kind of hard to pass up on a 130k rookie with a 90 in the system. Yeah, he's straight in and probably on field this week for Tom Green.
Yep. JD, pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's good. The job security is the one that's weird for me because their ins and outs, of course, they restructured their team effectively because they took out like 3 or 4 talls and only brought in like 1 replacement tall and then did stuff like put Mills down back. Blakey probably had to play more more key and less like a rebounding half. So just like how they adjust that stuff as these players return, I guess is kind of interesting to see what happens there. And like I agree that Roberts was good enough to hold, but then who goes out in his place is a tricky thing for them to consider, given that probably a lot of those other boys that are best 22 haven't done much wrong either to go back out of the side. So,
Yeah. Next one that's on the bubble is Dylan Williams that's been traded in. So he's, third most traded in. Interesting. Playing halfback, really wasn't too keen on if he, or hopeful that he'd stay in the side, but DBJ's been persistent playing forward. Burton was able to come back in and he held his spot. There's no Sanford on the weekend, so it's really just Bonner as the last one that can probably, or there's a chance to displace him, but they seem to like him. So if he's picked, I'll probably go there. Not reluctantly, but still, just knowing that it may not be the greatest pick in the world due to his job security, but playing halfback, can probably go 60. So I'll go there, George. What do you think of him?
Probably will as well. So yeah, he trained for this role in preseason. So previously he was like a forward, like half forward.
Didn't he have like the bleached blonde hair a couple of years ago? Was that him? Anyway,
not sure. Not too sure. But apparently he's a bit of like a rat bag or something. I don't know. I read that somewhere, but I don't know, like a DeGoey type. But regardless, he looked all right. And I'll probably bring him in. Got a kick in or two. DBJ forward, Bonner not in the team. Look, honestly, I've been reading Big Footy comments and they're all quite happy with him. Good, seems to be using the ball well. Accumulated a bit in his one SNFL game, but not so much so far. Just 16 and 10 disposals. Probably back him in, I guess. Hopefully get a 60 average out of him. So Yeah, not every day you get a rookie that's taken, albeit 1 or 2 kick-ins, but yeah, he's one I'll look at. Not one you have to have, but if you need that sort of player to double downgrade this week, I think he's the one. Just Seamus Mitchell's certainly hotter on him, but need him for next week. So landed on Dill Williams this week.
Yeah, well, this is really interesting because I think like early out of last week, MJ was all the rage. But you Williams over MJ now?
For money
The role.
purposes.
The
If
money, really?
O'Meara is dropped, if they were even, I'd probably go MJ.
I still do like MJ, JD, but yeah, Brody subbed on and he sat half forward for the whole game. The rest of it was a bit concerning.
Oh, did Johnson get moved forward when Brody came out? I did not.
So he
realize
started
that.
wing. He wasn't getting any mid time. He did it late in his sub games when he subbed on fresh legs. They did it.
Yep.
But that was in like a dead game against West Coast or whatever. This full game he was wing, and then when he went down, Switter went down. Brody came on and obviously ate up all the mid time. But then they threw someone else out to the wing, like John or whoever, the rotation there. And so Johnson was playing pretty much up forward. I mean, he kicked a goal in the last quarter to help him get over the line, but that's the part I would worry about. Where's he playing if he stays in?
And this was a rare win for Freo.
You got 20 points for like a clutch goal as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I worry about like early Georgie on the wing. He had 5 or 6 touches, or all handballs, I think, but was getting involved. And then Brody came on second quarter, and then I didn't see MJ at all really. To a couple of contests late in the forward line.
He looks
nice
good
goal.
at the level. So
I like him. Yeah, 100%.
They'll be happy with him. He looks like a
100%.
future piece. So I think they should put games into him.
It's just where is he going to play in those games? That's my problem.
Sub risk as well, maybe.
Yeah. So monitor the teams, but that's the only thing, JD. And look, Dill Williams doesn't have the best job security himself, but at least we know his role, right? When he is playing, should be good for 60s. I would have thought.
All right, interesting. This is good. This is a good chat. Yep.
Maybe a bit of film review, but that doesn't help the job security really. It's whether or not.
That does a little bit, right? Like you get a better feel for. Yeah. No, but I was definitely planning a bit of a film review this week on some of these rookies, given that I'm not as familiar with some of their games as some of the others.
Yeah. So we've touched on those. I think the last one that actually is technically on the bubble was Ned Moyle, George, after his 2 games. Interesting.
Throws out your structure. When's
there's no
back?
spot for him in the ruck line. Everyone's probably got Madden. If not, you got probably Samson or Asava maybe. So it's hard. It's hard to do, and you don't really know how long Witz is out. They've been a bit secretive with it. So we just said, oh yeah, just another week with soreness, but no timeline. They're not saying crap. And there is a bit of rumor, I guess, that it's long term or like midterm. That it's not, not great, but who knows? So, look, any other year, if it was confirmed and you had a spot, you'd probably jump all over it. But rookie rucks, they should be pretty good.
We have other rooks that look like they can go at the same scoring. Look, Moyle's numbers in the VFL have been all right. It's like all Australian VFL ruck last year. Got destroyed
best
by
young
Darcy.
ruck in the country.
Still needs to find his way a bit. I think there's just other alternatives. Plus, probably have to throw Moyle on the forward line. Probably pass, and then just don't know when Witz will be back. So not for me.
If we were to hear JD this week that Witz is out for 8 weeks, would you consider?
Yes. Yeah,
I think you have to consider. That's probably not the best question. Would you get him?
Yeah, probably.
What does it do to your structure? Yeah.
Probably
I'd worry about
8 weeks.
Yeah, it would be bad for the structure for sure. Because then I've got like Madden and Ryan sitting at F7, F8. But that means I have to field like Green or something like that. I guess like I could loop.
He can
Green
go
and
soon
Ryan each week, but I think you would though, because we've seen the rookie ruck when they get that R1 roll kind of uninterrupted. They just make bulk cash. That's a ticket to 300, 400k, maybe not 400k, but like 200 to 300k. So yeah, I would probably force that. Structure be damned.
So they're the real bubble ones. This is the old Samson Ryan here, George, isn't it? So
just because he's 170k.
I think his break even is 0, I believe, on the dot.
Yeah,
So
I'm a bit annoyed
still
at his
there,
team.
but
I just
tough
feel that
matchup
his
this week.
DPP. The only reason why I bring him up is Darcy Cameron is, I believe, 5 to 7 or 4 to 6 weeks away. So I'm kind of like, as soon as Darcy Cameron is available, I'll probably just grab him because I'm just stressed about Ruck cover. He's got a low break even, so I do feel comfortable with Ruck cover. I couldn't do it last week, but probably not worth it anymore. You just probably hope if you don't have Ruck cover, you just kind of try and hang on for 5-6 weeks till DC comes back.
I got Ruck cover out my ass, dude. I got Ryan and bloody Radically. I don't need them both, but win them anyway. So they're all the sort of ones that have played on the bubble or played. Now, first game is Seamus Mitchell. He's the second most traded rookie, and we don't often say go early. This is people, I believe, looking for a defender downgrade, right? So they don't have any sort of way with DPP, which, I mean, I could find any way to get any rookies I like. So I'm not sure, with the Cheezel and Zeeble that you should be able to probably avoid going him early, but he's 10,000 people have traded him in, and he looked quite good, George. You were there. What did you say? You've muted.
He took a kick in or two, so it looked okay. I think reading on Hawthorn, the big footy board, they seem to really like him. Bit of a hard nut. So I think he'll keep playing. He made one bad turnover early, like one of his first touches, but other than that, I thought he was.
Looks like he took the game on. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're trying to give it to others at the moment. Sicily seems to be happy to just let others do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I think, they got to. Hawthorn are at the point where they got to play him. So, been playing in that role. Did he have, I think it was like 20 something touches? Might have been closer to 30 in the VFL. So, he's a lock to come in. It's just, do you go early or next week? I'll probably go next week just because we have some stuff available this week. And then, I think we'll get to Corey Wagner, who was pretty concerning. So for that, I think I was probably thinking, we'll probably grab Wagner on his third game, but I definitely want to see improved performance from him. So I saw enough from Mitchell to say that I'll grab him next week. Yeah. I think you can go, if you need to go early on someone, I think that's fine though. If you're not happy with a Dill Williams or whatever. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yep. Will Gould, JD, the last one. The infamous, the man we never thought would play a game, and he rocked up with the vest on. They after all that, he gets the green vest in a game where they're crying out for defenders. But what'd you see from him? He wasn't too bad, but really
after rubbing shoulders with, what was it, Jason Derulo the week before, gets his debut. Something in that maybe. He looked pretty lively when he came on, to be honest. But then I thought he faded out of the game a fair bit. But I liked what I saw. It's just he only played half the game after Amadi was subbed. At, I don't know, in the second quarter type thing. So I thought he was okay. Comparing him to someone like Seamus Mitchell next week, I'm much more excited about Mitchell. Yeah. And the reality is with Gould, you've still got both the McCartan brothers, presumably both, to come back. And there's just no world which he holds a spot if they do. His job security is still very low for me, depending on what we hear about, I think, Paddy over the coming weeks.
Yep. They still got, McCartan and Rampy, as you said, to come in anyway. So it's probably hard to find a spot for him.
Yep.
How do we rank them, boys? Is it Matty Roberts, clear one? Probably the big question is Williams or Johnson. So if you're going to, boosting and going Primo, Rook, who's that second Rook is the main thing.
I probably have Williams just ahead, but I'm a little bit more confident in Johnson because I'm pretty sure he's a future piece for them, whereas I'm not sure Dill Williams is. But I think Williams will get a run regardless. So probably go Williams for the money.
If you had to field one this week, is there one that you prefer over the other?
I don't know about fielding Johnson though, just because I don't know where they're going to play him. I don't know if they're going to sub him.
Yeah, I don't mind fielding Williams if he's playing.
I think Williams can do a 60 against West Coast.
Yeah. You probably don't have to field both your rookies, so I think a few people will be fielding Matty Roberts, won't they?
I'll be fielding both for sure.
I think the hard thing for people may be just like what their forward structures look like. You may just run out of spots where if you've got like Green, Williams, and another forward rookie, then like you can't, you have to play one of them, and like Roberts is stuck on your mid bench.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. It's hard. Every team's a bit different setup structurally, and so just see what it does for you. Yeah, JD.
I was going to say, we haven't really spoken about who we can trade out this week. Should we quickly do that? And then I would love to talk about the last bit of can we trade some of these like better rookies earlier if it means a better premium?
Yep. C-Mac, skip over. He's gone.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it sucks, but he didn't look too great even when he came on. So
yeah, you got CBAs, like plenty mid-time, just didn't score.
No. So he's probably the most fun to trade. Ruben Jinby, we've probably got to hear some stuff on JD. Watching that game, I think we all were. He tries hard, the kid. He puts himself in the contest. He copped a few knocks. Danger poked his eye out at one stage and then
kicked him in the face.
Kicked him in the chest and took him out, but didn't even get a fine for that, which is a bit weird.
No, which is wild to me.
Yeah, he can go if even if he's playing and then he's, was managed with the sub and suits up to play. Break even 81. Gone.
No, out for me.
Knowing what he can do, his tackle numbers and whatnot.
High break even. Are they going to sub him again? No.
Yeah, it's too much out probably for me to keep.
He'll probably come good at some point, but it probably needs a spell anyway.
Yeah. I think it's one of those ones where like we need people to trade out. He's obviously got a high break even, so won't make much cash, but he is a more fieldable rookie if he continues to get games is the only downside. So, I mean, if you're in a position where you end up having to keep Gimby, I wouldn't mind it. And I'd definitely keep over C-Mac.
Yep. Oscar Baker, 95 gone. Not the greatest conditions for him, I guess.
You can hold on the bench if you want, but if he's your pathway to like Tuke or whatever, then get rid of him.
Like he's big scores out of his system now. His break even's 46. His average is 59, I think. So it's getting up to that point where he's basically one poor game away from starting to lose cash or just completely flatlining. He could restart with a good game, of course, as well. And against Freo this week, that is the type of matchup where you could see him maybe go 90 again and restart. But I think he's one that you can move on if you've already moved on one of Mackenzie and Gimby and need to move on a third.
Well, if he averages, this is his projected, say, next 53, 59, 62, 59, and then another 59. He'll get to 290k. I mean, it's 5 weeks away, but he's one you might be able to milk another 20k out of him. But if he's your path to get who you want, then
go for it.
Off he goes.
Kate Chandler, I don't totally love getting rid of him, knowing he's got Richmond this week and North next week, but his break even's creeping up slightly. It's 47, and he's he scored over that every time comfortably. Last two, not so much, but still scored over that. I think the cash that's in him, 280, is nice, and to get priority trades or your preferred trades this week, a lot of people will be looking towards him. Well, they are. He's the fourth most traded out. So, what do you think here, JD? If it gets you Tuke, do you just bite the bullet?
Chandler, yeah, I think
it's the most risky of the lot to trade out because he most definitely can get a good score in the next two. But
I mean, I think he's probably there's only one other rookie that I can see that I'm like okay with trading. Well, it's more that like I think Baker and Chandler are both fine holds, but it's just moving down the list. If you're boosting three of these out and you already got rid of Mackenzie last week, then I think Chandler ends up being the natural fourth one. Unless you have Kama, who looks like he's going to get 3-4 weeks worth, in which case you could probably move off him. Problem is Kama doesn't have nearly as much money. But yeah, I think, I'd rather hold Chandler and Baker, but Chandler's performances have kind of dropped off a little bit the last few weeks. Doesn't mean you can't restart it. And as you said, the fixture gets a little bit better for him potentially as well. But yeah, I think he's the last of these options I could see people moving off.
It's annoying. I was like sure that Fergus would be gone by now or Radicalair, but they've been going bonkers and Now it's
Yeah.
like Chandler's the one to go for me, even though I want him on
cash generation. Oh, now you have to
points.
keep Rowson, and like Rowson's going to get another game. That's just so hard for you with all this money.
No. I want to field. He's still the number one rookie for me to field. Whereas not loving still feeling Rad or Ferg. Look, they got good scores, but their roles are not great. But yeah, I'll probably trade Chandler as he's really the only one that can go for me. But yeah.
All right. So this leads to my last question. Would you rather trade Chandler and get Merritt, or trade Ashcroft and get Miller?
Merritt.
That's so
I'd
tough.
like to keep Ashcroft.
Yeah, I'd like to keep Ashcroft too, but like there's difference in premium upgrades here, and like Chandler could still technically make a bit more money. Ashcroft's break even's about the same. I think they're both about 44, 45, 46, something like that.
Ashcroft has GWS, who are no good, and Freo, who are no good, and Carlton, who are should be okay, but yeah, might be okay. No, I'd like to hold Ashcroft. I think he definitely has a ton in him, whereas Chandler might, but lower floor.
I'd say Chandler. Chandler to Merritt. Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And then I guess of the mid prices, like Setterfield's the one that I think people could move on this week if they wanted to as well. I think that's probably fine. Although if Merritt misses, then maybe you want to hold him because the CVA should tick up a little bit again.
Yep, I'll keep him for now. I still think he can spike a game at some point, like he did in round 2. Just sort of not putting it together with disposal, but his floor is 85, 90 with the tackling he's doing. Like I think he's averaging 7 or 8 a game or something stupid. So
maybe he gets 90% CBAs again if Merritt suspension holds up.
Yeah, correct. Yep. That's about it. All right, captains is the last thing. A little bit of a more difficult week, and only because of the round with Anzac Day being Tuesday. A lot of good option. Day cost is obviously then, and that obviously means Clary plays Monday night.
Who's also an option, and then Took plays Sunday afternoon or the evening game, who's also an option.
Probably the top 3 options, but there's English, of course.
I think the reality is like
game.
No one's really going to have loopholes for any of those 3 games unless we've got players dropped. I think Davy's the only one that's commonly owned at the moment that could be a loophole.
But you won't.
Constable, but you have to avoid it. So but the other thing is like none of those will be your vice. They have to all be captain options. So you only captain one of Miller, Oliver, or Dacos.
Yep.
So maybe it's worth just ranking them as captain options.
Yeah, we could do that. If Constable was my option, I'd do Led or Dawson right into one of the later guys.
Yeah, but which one of like Miller, Oliver,
Oliver,
Dacos would you captain? Like rank them 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's very
one
hard.
Oliver,
very,
2
very
Dacos.
Good. 3 Miller. Yeah, I was probably same, but I think Took went 170 on that mob last time.
Yeah,
I don't think Took's really a captain option at the moment.
Nah, VC I'd prefer.
He might go big, but
they gave up 133 Dunkley and 170 whatever it was to Neil last week. So I'd be happy to roll with Miller personally as a captain.
Yeah,
English into Oliver for me.
Yep, same.
All right, yeah. So of the VCs, and it's kind of interesting because English doesn't have the best track record against Darcy. So if people,
how many games is number 1 ruck? Is it 1 though? Like
I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
I feel like
so.
Probably, yeah.
So I guess like just if people are scared off that as English's vice captain, which neither of you are, and he's currently sitting as my vice captain as well. Who are the other options that you like from around these games? So I could see Bont being a vice captain option this week against Freo, whose midfield's been pretty poor. There's obviously the Aish tag threat, but that seems reasonable. Dunkley or Neil against GWS, any interest there?
No.
Not with Dunkley, maybe with Neil if you had him.
Yep. And then, as you mentioned, Laird against Hawks sounds like it's going to be a pretty popular option for Laird owners. He's a good vice captain option, I think, at the moment with the high ceiling, low floor.
Yep. I'd say there. So, Bont, if you don't like English, I'm fine with you for sure. And then See you, Clay. Takos Anzac Day probably scares me. There's just something in that kid that I could see a 200 looming there, 50 touches. The kid just absolutely tearing it up. Then it would not surprise me one bit. But obviously, you're committing to the C there in the last game.
Sneaky vice captain option Rosie on West Coast. I think he went 150 on them back into last year when he was a midfielder.
Yep, saw that mentioned, but I just feel like there's so many good other options. You wouldn't bother going there. So, yeah.
Okay.
If you wanted to be different, sure. There's some really good options, though, this week. Very, very good. So, yeah. It all depends on the loops. Obviously, GWS play pretty early, so if that's your only loop, you're going Bont or English.
I think most have Constable to loop.
And Constable, only if he's emergency. You just never know.
Sunday
George.
game. Oh, that's true.
Somebody, some flu, something laid out. You never know. Even though we probably think he's not sub.
Wasn't like Long really bad again?
Long. Yeah. He sucked. He gave up like the first 3 goals. But something tells me Constable's not that much the defender-wise, right? So.
Sard did too.
Going, Ben Long, you suck. Get Charlie Constable in to defend small forwards better. I don't, he's just an accumulator.
Nice retirement holiday at the Gold Coast for Longy.
Yeah,
good on him.
Yeah, so
all the power.
That's one of the things I guess with Constable this week. If he does get named extended bench and Long's there with him, there's actually a chance that he gets selected. Yeah. So Long they swapped forward at some point, I think, and they moved Lemons back into defense, which was weird. So if they're starting to move magnets like that, I actually think there's a chance that Long might have lost his spot in the side.
That'd be great. Give me the cash gen, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sort of locks you into Bont VC pretty much, or English if you're that way inclined.
Constable's still in 63% of teams.
Yeah, there's no reason to go anywhere really.
No, especially when Chess was dropped, and that was like the easy one to move on.
Yep. Beautiful. All right. Bit of a long one, but bit happening. Some DPP, some upgrade seasons, some targets, some rookies that are important. So no Thursday night footy anymore, boys. So I'll probably be around for a stream if anyone cares. But otherwise, wait till Friday, start the round, and we'll see what happens. See. Pretty much VC is my big choice. Took's coming in for me, boys. Good luck tomorrow for Zach Merritt.
Thank you. That's the real watch of the week.
That's the real watch. And if he's
because by the way, if Merritt doesn't get off, it's either Sarong, or I'm forcing.
Will you go New Butters with George?
I've already got 6 forwards, so I'd be forcing in Miller for. Yeah,
I'd have to get rid of Setterfield, which I don't want to do.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll trade one of our 5 playing rookies this week.
Yeah. We'll see how we go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.